Good morning and a happy Thursday morning to everybody. All right, as usual, Harry and Meghan news. Now, I did tell you that the Daily Mail keeps putting out these stories trying to rewrite history, and they've done it again. So we have some older stories, and then we have some newer stories. So let's just jump in and cover what we have, shall we? Let's go. We're starting off again with something that happened before, but for some reason it's being brought up again. So we're going to cover this again. So here's what, and then I'm going to give you my spin on what I think happened. So what happened was Harry and Meghan trademarked Sussex Royal, and they wanted to put that brand on everything from pencils to socks and bookmarks and t-shirts and hoodies and gloves. And then they put up the sussexroyal.com, which, by the way, remember the Queen said you can't use the word royal. And they were doing this to make all of this money. They put in a trademark application. They wanted to stamp their name on everything, and it was all moving forward. I think somebody said they were going to generate like 400 million pounds a year with all of that. But then, of course, the Queen put the kibosh on it by saying you can't use the word royal. And here's the interesting part. It looks like they did this before they announced Megxit. They put up sussexroyal.com, and they did all of this trademarking and everything behind the scenes without telling the royal family. But then, of course, it all fell apart when they decided to step back. And the Queen said, yeah, if you want to step back, you can step back. But you're not taking the word royal with you. You can't, use sussexroyal.com, which, by the way, in case you guys have missed it, that website is still up. It's still running. They agreed to shut it down, and they haven't. So, of course, it all came out that Harry and Meghan were actively preparing to quit the royal family months earlier without telling anybody, and they filed these applications to protect their brand. So that tells you that they were thinking about leaving this summer before they left. And also, there was a possibility that they could have lost their titles as part of leaving the royal family. So this was a defensive move, because if the Queen said, well, you can't take your titles, then they could have said, well, listen, we've already done this, and this is how we're making our money. So there was an intention to use the trademark at the time of the application. So yeah. Oh my goodness. So obviously, when they left for Christmas to make a decision on what they were going to do, which is what they said, now you know that that was a lie. That happened in the middle of the previous year, literally right after they got married. Like literally, they started talking about leaving, and we were already aware that they spoke with Quibi, which was that now defunct streaming service. They tried to get in with that. I firmly believe that this was a cash grab. She married into the family and thought it was going to be this easy do, and it wasn't. It was tedious hard work. So she realized, though, that there was money to be had with the royal name, and that's what she tried to do with it. Now, let's get on to our next story, which ties into this story. Next up, the former Vanity Fair editor-in-chief, her name is Tina Brown, has decided to share her honest opinion about Harry and Meghan, and she says that Meghan Markle has the worst judgment. Ms. Brown was on the Ankler podcast with Janice Min to promote her new book. It's a new Substack letter called Fresh Hell. Now, this is the woman who famously said that Megxit was a disaster. She accused Harry and Meghan of being addicted to drama, and she used the opportunity just to share her honest opinion. She said, and I'm quoting, "The trouble with Meghan is that she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world. She's flawless at getting it all wrong. All of her ideas are, unfortunately, total crap." Oh my God. She described Harry as the lamb to the slaughter in the situation because he just blindly followed her like a child, really. Now, this woman posted her first Substack last week. She says that the platform is a way to, quote, unload my observations, rants, news obsessions, and human exchanges with the wildly eclectic cast of characters who populate my seething inbox. And her first post was a rant about Donald Trump and his run for presidency. In 2007, Miss Brown released the biographical work, The Diana Chronicles. In 2022, she said that Harry and Meghan made bad choices and could have left the royal family on better terms if they weren't such, quote, hotheads when they made the decision to step back from their roles. She said that Harry was an impetuous man and palace advisors always thought he would leave. And they also said he was unhappy in the constraints of the royal family. She also said, though, that their exit from royal life was a disaster all the way around. Now, you guys should know that 2 months before her tragic passing, Diana met with the former Vanity Fair editor for lunch, along with Anna Wintour. She also published in 2022 the Diana Chronicles, and she claims that Meghan did not understand how hard Diana had worked to become a humanitarian superstar. She said that Meghan hated every second of her Australian tour in 2018, and the visit was pointless. She claims Meghan didn't understand her role, and she looked at Princess Diana and thought, I can do the same path. But Meghan didn't recognize the great deal of very humdrum assignments that Diana undertook on behalf of the firm before she became the icon that she still is. That was her fundamental, sense of misunderstanding of what was going to happen. She saw the palaces and she saw Diana, but forgot that for the first 16 or 17 years, Diana worked like a dog. It was her charisma that she brought to the job that made her so special. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Really quickly, people are talking again about this home in Portugal, which, by the way, is supposedly under contract but hasn't been purchased yet. There's some talk about whose name the house is really in. But let's be honest, this is not a power move. I think they're literally stalking Eugenie and Jack Brooksbanks. That's my opinion. Now, I am well aware, as the whole world is aware, that Eugenie and Harry were very, very close growing up. They skied together. They played in royal parks together. They did all kinds of things together. And they had a lot of shared experiences. Eugenie had to deal with the headlines from her parents, and Harry and William had to deal with the divorce of their parents and then Diana's death, But out of all the grandchildren, it's being reported that Harry and Eugenie have one of the most, natural connections. I don't know who's writing these articles, but the article the other day that I told you where they said the royal family threw Harry and Meghan out, cast them out, and completely tried to change the narrative, where they're doing it in this article too. They're saying that Harry and Eugenie had a shared difficulty of carving a role for themselves within the royal family because Eugenie was not a working royal and had to seek out her own career path. Excuse me, she was never a working royal. She went to college. She got married. She's having children. She has her life. This is like the biggest bunch of bunk I've ever heard. Now, we know at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, nobody was speaking to them. And we also know that at the funeral, people weren't speaking to them. Maybe at the coronation, I believe Harry made some kind of really rude comment about how big Eugenie was getting as they were walking into the church. Somehow that just doesn't surprise me. But it was very obvious at the funeral that things were not well between them. Eugenie would look at them and look at Harry here, giving the stink eye to Jack Brooksbank. And look how angry Harry looks. Let's not also forget that it was Eugenie and Jack's wedding that got pushed back because Harry and Meghan decided they had to be married first. Let's not forget that Meghan wanted the tiara that Eugenie had already chosen. And let's also not forget that at Eugenie and Jack's wedding was when Meghan decided to tell everybody that they were pregnant. So no, I don't think Eugenie is all that fond of Harry and Meghan. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that she is. I think she likes Harry. I don't think she likes Meghan. And we know that initially they were friends, that Meghan and Eugenie were friends. But I got to be honest, I think that's gone now, especially after all the crap she's pulled on her. Ugh. All right, let's move on. Here we go. This is the final story. We know that Meghan Markle kept a journal. She told everybody about the journal. And while she keeps talking about, I want to look forward, I want joy in my life, I want to put the drama in the past, she's apparently thinking about writing a tell-all book. Now keep in mind that she's what, I don't want to argue over her age. Let's just assume she's really 43 or 44 years old. She was in the royal family for a total of 3 years, and yet her entire life has been about what happened to her when she was in the royal family. We've been hearing she's going to write a tell-all book, and they're saying that this journal that she wrote will remain a, quote, potential weapon in her back pocket if she ever feels the need to seek some sort of revenge. But she has behaved with discretion and dignity since the Oprah and the Netflix series. I'm sorry, I beg to differ. Let's not forget the Cut interview. I mean, everybody's talking about how she's moving forward and not backwards, but every chance she's had, how about archetypes? Are you really going to sit there and say that she's behaving well since she got off her chest? Listen, Harry wrote The Spare. That has not gone well for him. The backlash, I mean, if she's got any brains in her head, she'll stop right now. I do not believe for 1 second that anything she's written in those journals is accurate. Let's go back and remember that Meghan claims that she had receipts to back up her racism allegations.
Vicious attacks.
Well, I also think Meghan has plenty of receipts, meaning that she's been keeping track of things. And all you need to do is look at the headlines.
Or how about her friend Janina Gavankar, whatever the hell her name is, who also used the Queen's words and threw them back at people. Remember this?
But on the other side, I know that the family and the staff were well aware of the extent of it. And though their recollections may vary, ours don't, because we lived through it with them. And there are many emails and texts to support that.
These are the same emails and text messages that I've told you about in previous videos that Meghan said she could not produce for the court system because she had an auto delete on her phone, or the palace did. And so any messages over 30 days couldn't be produced. But come to find out that that wasn't true, was it? All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell to help me with the algorithm, and go down into the description box where you'll find the link to video number 2, which is what's going on with the tour of Australia. There's more information. There's a lot happening. So let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Follow me over. Let's go.